On a humid Sunday morning in Lagos, the streets around Glory Fire Assembly were already overflowing. Luxury SUVs lined one side of the road. Motorcycles squeezed through traffic. Street vendors sold water, handkerchiefs, and anointed stickers to worshippers hurrying toward the entrance. Inside the packed auditorium, thousands of voices rose together. "Papa! Man of God! Touch me!" The atmosphere felt electric. Standing beneath bright stage lights was a man dressed in a spotless white suit, wearing a gold wristwatch that sparkled every time he raised his hands. He smiled confidently. "I hear God's voice every night," he declared. "I know your past. I know your future. And today, your miracle has arrived." The crowd erupted. Some cried. Some fell to the floor. Others emptied their wallets without hesitation. To many people, he was a prophet. To others, he was a miracle worker. But behind the lights, behind the cameras, behind every carefully rehearsed miracle, was a secret that would eventually destroy everything. This is a fictional story inspired by the methods used by fraudsters who exploit faith and desperation for profit. This is the story of Pastor Miracle Money. Long before anyone called him Papa, he was simply Moses, a quiet young man trying to survive in Lagos. He worked long hours running a small POS kiosk. Business wasn't great. Every evening, while waiting for customers, he watched religious programs playing on a television across the street. At first he watched for entertainment. Then he started paying attention, not to the sermons, but to the people. He noticed something. People arrived carrying burdens no one else could see. Debt, sickness, unemployment, broken marriages, fear. And fear made people vulnerable. Over several months, Moses began studying every successful preacher he could find. How they spoke, how they paused, how they prayed, how they convinced complete strangers that God was speaking directly to them. Eventually, he reached a dangerous conclusion. If people already believe, they won't ask many questions. That single thought changed his life forever. Months later, he rented a tiny storefront. Fresh paint, plastic chairs, a borrowed speaker. One banner hung outside. Glory Fire Assembly, where nothing is impossible. 7 people attended the first service. 5 were relatives. 1 was a neighbor. The last person simply came because the music was loud. It wasn't much. But Moses wasn't discouraged. He wasn't building a church. He was building an audience. The next few months were carefully planned. He paid several people to attend every service. Their job wasn't to pray. Their job was to create excitement. Whenever he shouted, they shouted louder. Whenever he prayed, they collapsed dramatically. Whenever he declared a miracle, they celebrated as though heaven itself had opened. New visitors assumed they were witnessing genuine spiritual power. Soon, short videos from the services began appearing online. People shared them, commented, debated them. Every viral clip brought new faces through the church doors. Attendance doubled, then tripled. Eventually, the small shop became too crowded. Within a year, Glory Fire Assembly had moved into a large warehouse filled with hundreds of worshippers. The offerings grew larger. The applause grew louder. So did Moses' confidence. He had discovered something powerful. People often trusted emotion more than evidence. Every miracle followed a script. A volunteer would stand and testify that impossible things had happened. Someone would claim years of pain had disappeared instantly. Another would announce unexpected financial blessings. The congregation celebrated every testimony. Few people stopped to verify any of it. Special bottles of anointing oil appeared for sale. Prayer handkerchiefs, blessing calendars, miracle water. Each one was described as a point of contact for faith. Each one carried a price. Nobody was forced to buy. Yet many believed they couldn't afford not to. Hope can become expensive when someone promises certainty. And certainty sells. No performance lasts forever. As the ministry grew, so did the number of people behind the scenes. Volunteers noticed inconsistencies. Conversations didn't match public appearances. Private meetings sounded different from public sermons. Eventually, one insider began documenting what was happening. Photos, voice recordings, planning meetings. The material spread rapidly online. Questions replaced applause. Doubt replaced excitement. People who had once defended the ministry demanded answers. Within days, the building that had echoed with songs of celebration stood nearly empty. The reputation built over years collapsed almost overnight. Moral lessons. Faith is valuable. Hope is powerful. Generosity can change lives. But none of those qualities should require us to abandon wisdom. Real spiritual leaders should never fear honest questions. They should never pressure vulnerable people into giving beyond their means. And they should never promise guaranteed miracles in exchange for money. Whether in religion, business, or everyday life, extraordinary claims deserve careful examination. Because deception often wears a convincing smile. And sometimes, the greatest miracle isn't believing everything you're told. It's having the courage to ask questions. If you enjoyed this fictional story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. What would you have done if you discovered the truth? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.